Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Chronicles with the Red Devil Chronicle. I'm Andy.
And my name's Nick.
And on this week's show, is Wayne Rooney worth £300,000 a week? What are the highs and lows of the season? And we discuss our end of season review. No other way to start the last show of the season though by discussing the whole game. We're going to talk about that next. So unfortunately Mark's not able to join us from the United stand this evening, but we wanted to get someone on to have a chat with me and Nick through the whole game. Now last week of course we heard from producer Joe, he finally got a voice. We're going to give him a voice again for this week. So Joe, good evening.
Hello, you alright?
Yeah, very well. Are you okay?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Brilliant. So yeah, let's start with the whole game. Let's get that out of the way because it was another miserable day. Yet another lifeless performance from United. Nick and I predicted a lot of goals. I know we said 3-2 and 2-1, I think. Yeah, we got that drastically wrong.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
Embarrassingly wrong.
Yeah. Now, only one team for me looked like scoring, and that was Hull. It was a dull afternoon's viewing yet again for me, in which we, sort of failed to provide much, if any, threat. What did you think of United on the day, Joe?
Yeah, I thought it was another poor game. It just showed what we'd been like all season, really. It just highlighted our issues.
It was a nice way to conclude a season.
Yeah, it was.
Average performance.
I did like the performance from Valdez. I've got to give it to him. He wasn't dreadful. He showed he was worthy of being in the net. At least we know that he's a good backup keeper, but he's not the long-term plan, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Valdez is someone that I know Nick wants to give a more of a mention to a little bit later on. But I know, Nick, you wanted to start by criticising one player in particular during the whole game.
Yeah, no, it's not Marwan. He was a disgrace. But before him, my criticism is probably Wayne Rooney. I thought he was very lazy. I thought it seemed an uninterested performance, and he could have quite happily got himself sent off as well for lashing out at Brady.
Yeah,
which is not something you want to see from your captain. It was very poor from him. He conceded possession an awful lot, and it makes me question: has he lost a yard of pace, Andy?
Possibly so. I mean, he did look a little bit, like you say, lazy and sort of... It was definitely an end-of-season performance from Rooney, without a doubt. But, I mean, we've seen this for a while from him now. These sort of performances have become a regular part of his game, in my mind. Joe, what were your thoughts on Rooney's performance? Do you think we should be keeping him as a regular starter for next season?
I don't think you can judge him off that game. I think it would be unfair to judge someone off the last game of the season, where he's played a poor season anyway. I think we should wait till next season, starting when we've got a proper squad together, and see how he fends with it then.
Well, my issue with Rooney is the fact he is on, people forget this, £300,000 a week. That's the same sort of brackets of the Messi, Ronaldos of this world. They're getting 50 goals a season. He's getting us up to 15, and that's the very top.
Yeah, 12 in the league this season. It was our top scorer, but that just says it all about the season, to be honest. Joe, you said it's unfair to base whether we should start Wayne Rooney as a regular for next season. What about his season? Do you think the season on the whole for Rooney means he deserves to start next season?
He was played in a position that wasn't his natural position. There was only one reason for that, is because we had nothing in midfield at the start of the season.
Right.
When he went back up front, he had more of an effect, but then he dropped back into midfield, and it's just not a comfortable position to watch Rooney playing. We thought he'd be the next Paul Scholes. He can pass a ball, but no, it's not. It's not the way he works. He's a out and out goal scorer.
This is an argument that a lot of United fans bring up. Rooney's lost his goal scoring touch. I remember one season he got 34 goals in the league. I think that was the 2011-2012 campaign. I'm not entirely sure of that.
I think it might have been earlier.
So a lot of people are blaming the move in position for this. World-class players, i.e. players that are on £300,000 a week, they adapt. I'll take, for example, the best player in the world at the moment, in my opinion, Lionel Messi. He's been put on the right wing this season for Barcelona, and it's actually improved him. Rooney, everyone thought was a natural midfielder, and I personally thought that as well. I've not been impressed the last 3 seasons. I think he's looked very poor. He's held the club to ransom twice even, and now he's been made captain off the back. And you look at our previous captains, the likes of Vidic, and I mentioned it before, and Keane. I just don't think they would behave that way.
I'm going to mention something else here. It's a less glorious example than Lionel Messi. Someone like Frank Lampard. Now, The reason I'm bringing him up is because, of course, as we well know, brilliant goal scorer from midfield. Now, with this whole argument about Rooney not scoring enough goals from midfield, my criticism would be of him, why is he not scoring goals from midfield? I mean...
I think Mark from the United stand mentioned this last week. Is Louis van Gaal putting a leash on the players? I remember Gary Neville showing some analysis of Rooney's performance in one of the matches, and he lost the ball and he won it back, and then he just passed it to the side and he just saw him sprint back up front. And I remember Gary Neville saying the Rooney of old would have lost the ball, won it back, and ran forward with the ball. And I just don't know whether, LVG is putting a leash on them, but I think he's been like this for the last 2 or 3 years.
It could be down to that, but he went, I think it was 560 minutes in the league without a shot on target from the start of New Year when he got changed position. It's terrible.
Was he in the position to score?
But why was he not? I mean, this is what I'm saying. When you come to Frank Lampard, he was well known and always will be for arriving late in the right position, edge of the area, putting the ball in the goal. Why is Rooney not able to do that?
Sometimes Rooney was way out of position. He was almost playing where we expect Carrick to play or Blind to play.
I know, but if you look at Steven Gerrard, even, I know we don't give him a lot of credit on the Red Devil Chronicles, but he's been dropped into defensive midfield over the last couple of years, and I thought from a neutral perspective, he's adapted really well. So why can't Rooney?
Maybe he's just not comfortable pushing forward from that position.
I think I agree with what you're saying to a degree, Joe. He sometimes sacrifices himself for the team. When he plays that position, he feels like he has to chase the ball everywhere to win it back, and I think sometimes that does sacrifice his play going forward. So maybe it was just a case of just filling in the gaps for the season. I don't know.
But you can't argue his influence. That's at the end of the day. That him in the middle. Yeah. If you didn't have Rooney in the middle, would we have lost more games? Was he dragging the team forward from leading in the middle, or were we just trying to find excuses to have a poor season?
I'm not saying I want him out of United. Obviously not. Like I've heard good examples this season where he's, before the City game, he got all the players rallied up, and there's been good examples of what he's done this year as a captain. I just feel that, particularly this season, even the season with Moyes, he's just not looked the same Rooney, and it's quite worrying at the age of 29. He should be at the peak of his powers.
I mean, there's been plenty of other players that we've, could come in for criticism, not just for the whole game, but for this season, but especially during Hull. Phil Jones, who impressed for you against Arsenal, went right back to Phil Jones of old. Yeah. Maro and Fellaini, as you gave a brief mention to, absolute lunacy. But one player that we thought stuck out in a positive light, Joe, and we want your sort of input on this, was Chris Smalling. Now, I felt he was sort of the calm in the storm of a back line yet again. Generally pretty composed, apart from that strange headed clearance. I don't know what he was thinking with that. But I mean, what did you make of Smalling on the day? And do you think he's the rock that we should build around at the back?
So last week I mentioned to you about him having the captain's armband, and I said he seemed up for it. I mean, the week after you see the influence that's had on him. What a player! What a difference it's made. And yes, it is someone you could build a team around. I'm not comparing him to the likes of Vidic or Rio Ferdinand. He's not going to be of that level. But what he's good at is being that cool and composed player in the back, and that's something we need. And it's something we can't afford to buy a whole new defence. So if you can still keep a few that are working, like Smalling, why not involve them?
Well, look, he's 25. He's going to get better. He's not going to get any worse at the moment. He's going to hit 28 and he should be at his peak. I think he's improved under Van Gaal, and I think he'll carry on improving under Van Gaal. So I don't have any problem or issue with Smalling at the moment. I thought he was brilliant against Hull. And
so would you choose to build your centre-back a partnership around Smalling as the main player, as opposed to, for example, Rojo or Jones?
I mean, of the current players, you'd have to say that he's the option to build round. I think if you brought someone in like Hummels, you wouldn't argue with it, would you?
No, I think it's a perfect partnership, personally.
Yeah. I think you build around the pair as opposed to building around one player.
That's what I'd suggest.
Like you said, our current crop, you couldn't really build around a pair because I don't think Jones is particularly good enough, and I'm not entirely sure on Rocco yet. You know how much I like him, but long term, I'm still a bit out on the fence about it. So I'd leave that at the moment. If we get someone like Hummels, then we could definitely build.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, one final player that I know you wanted to mention, Nick, was Victor Valdez. I know he impressed for you.
Typical Spanish goalkeeper, in my opinion. Looked really nervous at the start from crosses, and I think Hull picked up on that, and they tried to sort of intimidate him. But to get thrown in at that sort of game with a team that's fighting for their lives, when you've been out with 12, 18 months with a serious knee injury, and to perform like that, it's a credit to him as a goalie and a person. So I was really impressed with him.
Absolutely, and he did make 2 world-class saves as well, let's not forget. I mean, I still have doubts over Valdez as number 1 long-term.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he could replace De Gea. I mean, Joe, where do you sort of stand on Valdez?
He's not a number 1 goalkeeper. He's not the long-term option, like I said. We touched on it a minute ago, but, I mean, you can't argue with the saves he made. Yes, he made some stupid decisions, like the corners, but like typical Spanish goalkeeper, came out, all hands in the air, flapping about. Yes, we were lucky not to go 1-0 down, but the saves he made, we could have been 2-3-0 down. So you've got to take the positives out of it in a big game like that for him.
Well, if/when De Gea leaves, if we aren't going to get a goalkeeper of that sort of level to replace him, I don't think I'd have an issue with Valdez next season as long as the defence and the midfield was vastly improved. Because this season, we've had to rely on a goalkeeper so much, it's worrying.
Yeah, and we definitely need to build the defence. Whether or not we buy a world-class keeper, I still think we need a lot of improvements at the back. The whole spine of the team still needs a bit of a rebuild in my mind, because although there is a very good argument for us having the joint best, third defence in the league this season, as we've sort of touched upon before, how many of that is down to De Gea and the saves he's made?
It was that statistic like you found.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember
27 defensive
29
errors,
it was.
29
defensive errors, only 3 went in all season.
That's not going to happen every year, no matter
no,
who
it isn't.
So.
Even with a world-class keeper, you can't guarantee that sort of success.
Look at the likes of City. You've got, obviously, Company on his day, top class. You've got Silva. You had Yaya when he was in his prime. You've got Aguero, Joe Hart in net, the spine of the team.
But you look at Hart, he's not consistent, is he? You see City players, they hate him for months on end, and then he'll come out and make an amazing save like he did a couple of weeks ago,
and the one against Swansea as well, which was a phenomenal save.
Exactly, and that's what makes him a good keeper in their eyes. So if Valdez, you could argue them 2 saves he's made makes him a good keeper in our eyes.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, still
it's not all about having the best keeper in the world in between our sticks. It's not possible to have that in the
just
all
a consistent goalie.
Yeah,
totally.
You don't need that, but you do need improvements at the back, as you say. Vincent Kompany, obviously, I think he's lost it last season and a half personally, but that sort of quality of defender on his day, as you say, that's something that United are seriously lacking. I mean, just to wrap the section up about the whole game and sort of general chat around it, Joe, taking into account potential transfers, form this season and our current squad, what do you see for United going forward in terms of Premier League finish for next season and in terms of Europe as well?
I think we do well to at least compete until Christmas. I know that sounds odd, but if we came second, that's an improvement on this year.
Christmas miracles.
I think we could potentially go for the title, but you can't assess that until we see the players that come in. It's difficult. I mean, you look at what we need to improve. It's a long way away from what the team, because the teams have already got a team. They're still going to improve that team, so we've still got a long way to come.
The thing is, the pundits that were saying Chelsea were miles away last year are now saying United were miles away this year. So football, anything can happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think ultimately you're right. It is going to come down a lot to the way that we strengthen the team, but also the way that other teams strengthen and how their new players bed into the squads. So, next up, Nick and I talk season review. We're going to talk the highs, lows and the in-betweens as we look forward to the next season. So next up, it's time to discuss the highs, lows and in-betweens of the season. Me and Nick are going to have a quick chat through these, just see what we thought of the season in general. I think it's probably best to kick off with the lows, get them out of the way. Nick, fire away. What would be your first low? Fire us through them.
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to look at lack of consistency. I think that cost us huge this season. Swansea did a double over us. We lost against Leicester, even though I think we were 3-1 up at one point.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, shambles.
So those games really cost us. And you think if we won those games, we would have been a lot higher up.
Yeah.
So I think that 5-game stretch, where we beat Spurs, Liverpool, and City, I think that saved us really. If we wouldn't have done that, God knows where we would have finished. 7th, 8th.
Absolutely. It'd have been the same sort of season as Moyes. It'd have been that sort of finish again. As you say, if it hadn't come, it came out of nowhere as well. There was that Spurs game came on the back of a 1-0 win that we edged at Newcastle. Ashley Young's sort of goal in the last sort of 4 minutes.
Yep.
And that game was atrocious. And then the week after, something just happened.
I think it was the belief. I think, when Youngie scored the goal, like you saw the reaction of the players. It reminded me a lot of Fergie's days, like that last minute winner, last gasp winner when we weren't playing well. And we went into the Tottenham game at home, and I remember all the pundits saying that we're going to get battered. I think it was Souness saying Andros Townsend's pace is going to rip United apart. And, it was just a completely different game. United turned up and Tottenham could not live with us.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think, as you say, there was that celebration at the end of Newcastle when we won that game that felt a bit different. Even when the goal went in, as you say, there was a bit more belief about it. Ashley Young's celebration reminded me a little bit of Ket Spire around St James's Park from years ago, so that was brilliant. But yeah, I totally agree on that. Lack of consistency has been the key low for United without a doubt. Nick, what any other lows?
I think you need to look at. I think when LVG turned up originally, he classed it as a 3-month plan to his miraculous turnaround. He said the same at Barca, said the same at Bayern Munich. But I think he really underestimated the state Manchester United were in at that point. And I think it was around Christmas time, and we were really struggling. And he got asked the same question again: how's your 3-month plan working out? And he changed it to a 3-year plan.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think at that point every United fan just sort of sulked into the chair and thought, this is going to be a long 3 years.
Yeah.
But then the light at the end of the tunnel, again, we go back to those 5 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that has to be another low. The 3-month plan that was changed to a 3-year plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's poor, really, isn't it? Like you said, he said it at Bayern, said it at Barcelona. He came out with 3-month plan, and he thought, well, it's worked before for him.
It was the arrogance of it.
Yeah, exactly. You thought, well, this is great. Like, this is going to work.
The thing that you can't say when you come into the Premier League is, I've got a 3-month plan. The Premier League is not like any other league. In Spain, how often do the bottom team beat the top team?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. And we went to Leicester and we got turned over 5-3. So that wouldn't happen in the Spanish league, wouldn't happen in the German league. So and I think it was an arrogance and a naivety from LVG.
Possibly a bit of both, yeah. I mean, I liked the arrogance when it first came in, and then, like you say, that day when he was asked 3 months in, so Louis, where's that 3-month plan? And he turned around and said, well, it's going to be more like a 3-year plan.
Yeah,
you say, there was that deflating moment where you just sort of sat back and thought, oh no, not 3 years, please. We can't do 3 years of this, Louis. But yeah, I think he definitely underestimated the job when he took it. He was warned by football geniuses like Brendan Rodgers about how difficult the Premier League would be.
I think Brendan's found that out this year.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan's found it out himself. And Louis dealt with it slightly better, having got accustomed to it. Nick, I believe you've got a couple more in terms of lows. Keep firing.
We've mentioned him before, but I'm just going to say Rooney again. I won't go as in depth as I did before, but he's been poor last couple of seasons now, and I just feel we're not going to challenge for the title with him up front. He reminds me a lot of like the situation Arsenal are in with Olivier Giroud. Henry said it, they're not going to challenge for the title with him in the team up front. Like the good players, don't get me wrong, the top players, and I keep him in the squad, but they're not Costas, they're not Hazards, they're not Agueros. They're not going to challenge for. City scored 20 goals more than us this year. We're miles away. So I just think we need a world-class forward up front, and I think that's just another low. It's just the consistency of average performances from Rooney.
Fair enough, yeah, nothing really to add to that.
No.
And I agree. I don't think he's worth the 300k a week. I don't think he's worth a guaranteed spot in the
team. But 50
team.
grand a week is image rights, though, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. We should throw that in there. Still, that's $250,000 a week, though. It's a lot of cash. One more player you wanted to mention within your lows as well. We'll try and avoid talking again too much about him because it depresses us.
But David De Gea, obviously, unbelievable season. Our player of the year, without a doubt. But I just think we're going to lose him, and it just feels like a step back. We've got into top 4. We feel like a few more players to the team, and we're going to challenge for the title. And you're arguably your best player goes, and it's that little bit, a little bit like the end of the tunnel, just taken away. Yeah. And that's just one final low for me of the season. So, But anyway, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, unfortunately, and I feel like we should get the violin out at this stage, to be honest with you. I'm sorry if you've got any rope or bridges nearby. It's a bit of a miserable one, this, but I'm going to have to keep ploughing because we've got to be honest.
Yep, definitely.
My first low of the season starts with the pre-season itself and our transfer policy. Now, a lot of people are suddenly celebrating Ed Woodward as though he's some
He's
sort
like
of genius.
A biblical figure at Old Trafford now.
He really is, and I just don't get it. I mean, he spent the last summer playing Russian roulette with the Glazers' money, and everyone gets on the Glazers' back and praises Woodward.
Well, I think we've discussed it before. The thing that annoys me was, we got Angel Di Maria, and like every other United fan, I was ecstatic when we signed him. I thought, genuine, a world-class player. But if you look at it now in a more realistic term, Madrid wanted to get rid. Yeah. It wasn't like it was a player they wanted to desperately keep, like when they got Ronaldo off us or when they're going to get De Gea off us. We don't want to lose those players. They wanted to get rid of Di Maria to balance the books after the Bale purchase.
I mean, that's exactly where I'd start with the whole transfer saga for me last season with Di Maria, as you say. How was it that Real Madrid were happy to get rid of a player, and yet we were happy to spend a record transfer
£60 million.
Yeah, 59.7 million without negotiation.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, don't get me wrong, he's a world-class player. But like you said, Madrid wanted to get rid of him. It's like they were saying, "Oh, you can have him if you want, but you have to give us 60 million." And Ed Woodward just said, "Yeah, I will, pat him on the back. I will buy him a pint if he goes to Madrid. I want Bale." And Madrid go, "No, he's not for sale." And then Bale starts coming out with, "Oh, I want to go to England and I want to play for Manchester United." Then that's a world-class transfer. That is a transfer that the team don't want to sell, but you've pulled it off anyway. And until that point, I'm still a question mark about him.
Yeah, it was no miracle signing. And as we pointed on
neither
as well...
was the Falcao one.
Yeah, exactly. Falcao as well.
Monaco wanted to get rid.
And what was the extent of his injury and why was it not assessed fully? Where were we missing out?
I remember you saying this previously. I'm questioning the medical that Falcao actually received because he was nowhere near fit when he turned up. And he looked a shadow of himself basically this season, and it was really upsetting to see. Like, he seemed a lovely man, lovely player.
Right, attitude as well, but and it's a difficult one with Falcao because it was a risk worth taking to a degree, but I just feel that something, as you say, on the medical, I don't know what went wrong, but something was missing from our side.
There just seemed, with our transfers, the way you sum it up, chaos. It just seems to be like an auction house, and people are bidding for stuff they don't necessarily want, but just because it's a big name.
Yeah, I
want players that we need in the positions we need. Right now, everyone's known for years we needed a centre back, we needed a centre midfielder, and we need a world class striker. We've not had a world class striker since 2012 when Van Persie was on his A game. We've not had one since then. That's 3 years. In footballing years, that's decades.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's more of a Russian roulette game, as I said at the start. For me, Ed loaded up the chamber, and he got one decent one out of the 6 that he went for, and that for me was Herrera. I think he's the only success story so far from the transfers done. Of course, not at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Don't get me wrong with these two. I was going to point this out. In fact, 3. I'll give the other 3 a chance. Blind, for me, is a sound player. Sound's not going to be enough to replace Carrick, and it's not enough for United.
We've said it before. He's an improved John O'Shea.
Yeah.
That's how we'd classed him.
And I think he'll be good in terms of versatility, and I think he can get better. So I still think he's got plenty to offer. Rojo as well. I've no issue with him at the moment.
You know my affection towards Rocco.
And I completely understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been missing for most of the season, so I think we can call that a write-off. And the same with Luke Shaw as well. I think he's a great investment for the future.
Teenager,
exactly,
yeah.
And I'm glad to have him at United. I think he'll come good. But I think overall at the moment, when you look at it overall, it's definitely a low point. To only get Herrera out, all those signings that has worked out, and bear in mind that's only worked out for a couple of months of the season since Van Gaal actually gave faith in Herrera to actually start him, which is what the fans wanted.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anyway, are we going to keep this negative train rolling? Have you got any others for us, Andy?
Yeah, just a couple. You've had your lows. I've got to get mine in.
Yep, go on.
One of the biggest lows on the pitch for me has been our away form. I mentioned this on Twitter last week. For all the criticism of David Moyes, we've ended this season 8 points worse off away from home. That's a shambles.
Yeah, we can't seem to get it right, can we? Under David Moyes, Old Trafford was just a circus. I remember that Fulham draw. I think 85 crosses or something horrendous in one game. We finally scored, and it was 2-1 to United, and there was a sigh of relief, and then Darren Bent went and scored at the other end 2 minutes later, and that was the nail in the coffin for me and Moyes. And I just thought, home form, how can you be that bad at Old Trafford? But this season, how can you be that bad away from home? Yeah,
because we had one of the best away forms in the league. I think even joint top with Arsenal, perhaps even last season. But, I mean, the way we've approached the games away from home as well, for me, has been naive in terms of allowing other teams to sit in repeatedly and just hit us on the counter.
It's so predictable.
We've been clueless, one-dimensional, and we're just not dealing with it.
The recent example of that, the Everton game.
Yeah.
Like the first 20, 25 minutes, they sat back. I could tell what they were going to do. You could tell what they were going to do.
We said it.
Yeah. LVG didn't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how. And to lose that game 3-0, I can't even comprehend that result now.
Don't get me wrong, we didn't deserve to get beat 3-0.
No, that's what I'm saying. I can't comprehend how
like,
that game's ended 3-0.
And it's like the Chelsea result. We didn't deserve to get beat by Chelsea, but we got beat by Chelsea.
I don't think we provided enough threat going back the other way to score. But
I agree, but to go to Stamford Bridge and have 75-80% of the ball and not win the match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to fire through my last low so we can get onto some highs so we can pick people back up.
Yeah, we're sorry about this.
Yeah. My final low is the P word. Now, I've considered buying a swear jar for it. Of course, that's philosophy.
It's a naughty word now.
It is horrible. It's been like watching United on a leash, as we've discussed this season a number of times. Short, good run of performances aren't enough to convince me that LVG knows what style of play works for United. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I still don't think he knows.
Yeah.
I think he knows his formation. Obviously, if you look at the players we've already signed up high, and I've seen a lot of rumours today. This is recorded on Wednesday, by the way, of Gaetan. So if you hear this weekend and circumstances have changed, that's why.
Let's hope the circumstances are that the rumours have stopped.
Hopefully, because he just looks like another nanny. So I don't really want him. But you can imagine LVG is going to keep the 4-3-3.
Yeah,
I think that's fixed. A lot of United fans probably want the 4-2-3-1. Very European way as well, but I don't think we're going to get that.
I do.
You really?
Yeah, if we got the right players, I do, yeah.
I just look at LVG in the past. He's a very stubborn man.
Oh, he is, and I don't think he'll change it, but I'm just thinking in terms of going forward. You imagine Depay on one wing, Di Maria gets his act together on the other. Mata
both agree, yeah.
Sits in the middle, with Herrera behind him. That link-up play superb.
World-class forward.
Get a good forward.
Where's Wayne Rooney there, Andy?
He's not. He's not. Right, Nick, before we start predicting United are going to get relegated, let's move on to the highs. If we fire through some highs, we'll start to pick up the mood now a bit.
Yeah, okay, so first and foremost again, top 4 finish.
Yeah.
LVG delivered what he was going to say in the first place, and if you notice something as well, no one ever comments on United's injury crisis. I saw some pundits, aka again Graham Souness, saying
one of our favourites.
Yep, Liverpool were hampered by injuries. If you actually look at United, we lead the way for injuries, but no one ever seems to mention that, which I find very interesting.
Very true. But yeah, top 4 is a great high to kick off with. We ultimately got the target that we wanted, and we left our rivals trailing behind. So yeah, good start. Let's keep them rolling.
Yeah, we'll go through these quickly. It's happier times.
Yeah,
the double over Liverpool.
Brilliant.
Karma,
yep.
Revenge on Slippy G, and no kissing of the camera.
I love a good mention of Slippy G.
And secondly as well, the City win.
Yeah.
After 4 straight derby losses, really embarrassing from a United perspective. We went out and we outplayed them, and you have to ask, where would City be without Aguero? It's the same with us and De Gea.
Yeah, arguably so. I mean, they almost forgot to play football for a while, didn't they, City? And Aguero just sort of carried them through the bad.
He just keeps the train rolling. So.
Yeah, only reason that they finished second, so completely agree. And they wouldn't have scored 2 on the day without Aguero either.
Yep, and my final high, I think, is going to be, if it happens, Johnny Evans leaving us. And I think 99.9% of United fans will agree with that, apart from that one drunk Northern Irishman at the bar.
Yeah, possibly so.
Anyway, your highs, Andy?
Highs. Well, let's go. First of all, going to go for a slightly different angle because you've covered a lot of the good points. There weren't that many, but no. LVG's speech. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because it finally showed some passion for the club. A drunken mind for me speaks a sober heart, or at least that's what I tell my girlfriend every Saturday. I watched him sit there, game after game, during poor performance after poor performance, playing around with his notebook. It was so irritating. Get out there in your technical area. If something's going wrong, why are you not out there relaying messages onto your team? So to finally see him take some passion forward, have a good speech, it showed for me that he's taken to United, and I think he's got the desire to lead us forward for next year. So that was a big plus for me.
I love the speech personally.
I thought it was great. Yeah. So I thought it was a real high.
Okay, and moving on.
Much more positivity from the fans. Now, this wasn't something that we started particularly well in terms of the season with the attack, and the 4-4-2 chants that we heard. But I think the fans have really started to dig in now, and they've got stuck in behind United and by Van Gaal during a poor season. So I think the fans have been brilliant, especially away from home.
I think they finally realised what sort of job Van Gaal's got on his hands.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that could be true. My final high of the season, Spurs game, 3-0, obviously start of the run as we mentioned. I saw a proper United performance for once this season. Harry Kane was supposed to come in and blow us away, all the rest of it, as we've said, Andros Townsend. I watched that game with genuine excitement, really enjoyed it, and for me, I thought it was an absolutely brilliant game, so that would be my high. So a couple of things in there. Nick, we're going to end this section of the show just talking about predictions quickly. Okay. Where do you see United finishing 12 months from now?
Well, going back to the negativity again, I don't mean to be, but...
Oh, don't say relegation.
No, I see us more comfortably in the top 4 than this year, put it that way. But I don't see us challenging yet. I think it'll be another season of consolidation. I think we'll be, still trying to work out the best team, still trying to find this balance that LVG keeps talking about. So just transitional period still, but a lot more brighter than this season. What about you?
Yeah, I think it will be more transition seasons yet again. LVG's got his feet in under the desk now, and I think for him next season it's about putting his stamp on the game. As we just alluded to a moment ago, we're not totally convinced that he knows the ideal side and the ideal way to play. So I think he's still going to have to work on that, and as a result, I don't think we'll put up much more than a sort of limp challenge for the title. I wouldn't go with us finish any higher or lower than third.
I think top 3. I'd put if we finish third next season and we've played a lot better football and we're not as far off Chelsea and City like this year, I'd feel quite happy.
Because you have to factor in Europe as well. Obviously that's going to be a big ask on the squad.
Speaking of Europe, how far do you think we'll go in that?
Well, it's a potentially tough qualifier depending on who you see us getting. We could be up there with one of the big forces in Europe.
Get Lazio.
Yeah, we could.
I saw something in the paper where if they, I think they're playing one of the rival teams, and I think if they beat them, they get that final European spot in Italy, which means that they've got to go through qualifying.
Okay.
And if Roma would have got beat by Lazio, we couldn't get Roma because they're a higher seeding.
Right. But
now we can get Lazio.
And can we get Monaco as well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of teams in there you'd want to avoid. So it could be all over there. But
hopefully we've signed the players by then. So it doesn't matter.
We'll be optimistic. I think we'll get through the qualifier.
Yeah.
I think we, whoever the opponent is, I think we have to be good enough, and I think we'll have the signings ready in place.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to start the season with a puncture. I think we'll get through the group stages as well. I think we have the potential to. Might be only second place finish, but I think we'll get through. I think we'll also get through the last 16. It'll depend on the opponent, but I think we'll get through that, and I think quarterfinal will be where you see the end of the road.
Yeah, just a little stat I've seen actually from our producer Joe.
What's he saying?
Manchester United's record is the second worst goal tally in Premier League history.
What, this season?
Yeah, for us.
Yes, 23 years ago. It was the worst, and 23 years later, it's our second worst.
That's quite surprising.
Oh dear. Well, we're going to discuss transfers, and I know we want to discuss centre forwards in a bit, so that'll be something that we touch on. Yeah, I mean touching on that certainly. But yeah, for me, in terms of Europe, I think quarter-final would be as far as we'd possibly go. I don't know what you think.
Depending on who we get, I agree with that. If we get a lucky draw each way, I can see a fluky semi-performance maybe, but quarter-final, round of 16, that sort of thing.
Brilliant. No, that's great. So we think that we're possibly going to finish in the top 3 next season. We think we do have the potential to get to the quarters. Nick even thinks we'll get a cheeky semi. Well, there you go. But that's it for our highs and lows and in-betweens of the season, all our predictions. Please let us know on Twitter what you think at WeFollowUnited. Next, it's time for the Shootout. So it's time now for us to be put through our paces in the final shootout of the season. Last week we had our producer Joe on the show to ask all the important questions around United, and he's back again.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. We forgot to tell Anna that we were recording on Wednesday this week, so there you go. You've got your slot back.
So I'm just here for trivial reasons.
You are basically, yeah. Now, Joe, have you managed to count the number of questions you've got for us this week?
Yeah, so this week I've got one for Nick.
Okay.
One for Andy.
Yep.
Back to Nick.
Right.
And then back to you again.
That's 4 questions.
So 4, yeah.
4 in total, yeah?
Yeah, 4,
Okay.
4 in total.
He's a good counter.
We're all good at maths.
Yeah.
But I believe you've got one for me as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we can fire something back at you.
Make
Yeah,
it a shootout then, won't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can't be a shootout without 5. Go on then, Joe. Kick us off with Nick's question. What have you got for him?
So, Nick, my question to you is, from the regular starters, which one player would you choose to sell?
Well, I'm going to lay off the Rooney bashing. I've had enough of that tonight because I'll definitely keep him. This season, probably Marouane Fellaini. If a club came in with 15 million quid, I'd be inclined to sell. I don't like relying on a player with that little ability who's only there for his aerial presence as opposed to his footballing ability. That's not what United are about. I hate, pundits are like saying, they throw Fellaini up front when they need a goal. I'd rather talk through our football than with someone who can just head the ball. So that's probably the player I'd get rid of.
It's an interesting choice. So, why Fellaini out of the whole squad?
Because
he's not stood out as the
for
worst
example,
player, has he?
Look what he did. Against Hull City this weekend. He went over and nearly broke someone's leg. Imagine he did that.
I mean, in the whole game, fair enough. Yeah, he was really poor, and they've been dotted round poor performances. But I kind of get what Joe's saying. I mean, he's not been the worst United player out the starters.
No, don't get me wrong. I'd keep him, as a squad player, like I said. But if someone bidded 15 million for him, I'd be very tempted to get rid.
So are you purely selling him as the players who are regular starters, as Joe was saying? Then are you purely sort of choosing him then just because he's a sort of plan B? It's the long ball. It's not United style.
That never would have happened under Fergie. And I don't like. He's not got a lot of football ability. So I don't like United being so reliant on someone with that little ability. We should be able to produce the football and score the goals without needing to, put a big microphone head up front.
What do you think of Fellaini as a plan B, Joe?
I don't like it as a plan B. I have to agree with you, Nick.
It's prehistoric.
It's not
Plan C.
Z.
It depends
Plan
how
Z.
far we.
Is he in the plan list?
If it's the 93rd minute and you're away at the new camp and you need one goal and you've got a corner, then you bring Fellaini.
You have to
on.
argue. We've been praising Young all season. You have to argue how effective he would have been without Fellaini.
Yeah, arguably that's true. But like I said, I think Young has a lot more footballing ability than Marouane Fellaini. He fits into LVG's system and our system a lot more. I like him more as a footballer, and he wouldn't go out on a nice weekend sun and try and break someone's leg at Hull City.
Fair enough.
Okay,
Joe, we'll swiftly move on.
So Andy, Falcao is leaving, and RVP is rumoured to be out too. Who would you target as the new centre forward?
Well, for me personally, and we're going to discuss this more in the transfer section of the show, I would go for Lacazette in terms of realistic targets. I know me and Nick constantly bang on about Lewandowski, and you can expect a summer of it, we will be doing. But the reason I'd go for Lacazette is pace is the key for United. It's been what we've been missing from the game, and I think if you can get Di Maria, Depay, obviously firing in well, and Lacazette as well, you just imagine that as a front three. It's like the red arrows flying forward, so Lacazette for me.
No one else? No other options?
We're going to touch upon this later a lot more, but me and Andy both disagree on this as this number 9 role. Obviously, Lacazette's a very good player, and I definitely have him. But later on, we've both got a few different ideas.
Well, we'll save it for then.
Yeah,
move on.
we'll save some of the others, but we'll also go into more depth on the Lacazette reasoning as well, because 30 seconds doesn't for me quite get in everything I need to say.
You're going red then, trying to get your answer out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, red enough as it is. We'll go with third question then. That's for Nick.
So Nick, it's back to transfers.
Okay, yep.
If you could sign one player this summer, excluding Depay, who's a top class signing,
yep.
Being realistic, who would you sign?
Well, again, we'll touch upon this a lot more in depth in 30 seconds later on. But me and Andy have finally found something we both agree on.
Incredible.
Morgan Schneiderlin is brilliant. I saw a Vine on Twitter of him completely skinning Yaya Toure, and it was unbelievable. He just flicks over his head and he's controlling the ball. He's just a midfield dynamo, and if he's available for 25 million with that much Premier League experience at the age of 25, why would you not throw 25 at him? So yeah, Morgan Schneiderlin.
Yeah, and as Nick alluded to, we finally found something that we do agree on.
Realistic though?
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think he's recently said on French TV he will only sign for a club in the Champions League. So
which could be Arsenal.
Obviously, I think it is Arsenal.
I think it probably is
Arsenal.
But I can't believe, and I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks
Why
now.
are we not linked with him?
Exactly.
I just don't understand.
We've been linked with every player except for
Schneiderlin.
Schneiderlin.
I'm not.
So maybe it's one of these hidden gems that's going to be thrown out.
It just seems that people just don't fancy us for signing him. It's talked about like he's already an Arsenal
Well, then
player.
again, were we linked with Falcao?
True.
So
Yeah, good point.
there you go.
Were we linked with Gaetan? And apparently we've signed him. If you
Every
believe Twitter.
every summer this comes round, I'm sick
Wesley
of Gaetan.
Sneijder, I can't wait for them.
Yeah, I know. But the one other thing to mention within that as well is, as well as Schneiderlin being a good replacement, in my opinion, an understudy for Carrick, imagine this midfield three. Carrick,
Holding
Herrera, Schneiderlin.
in Fellaini's current position.
That's a beautiful...
So Fellaini would be out in that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
It's got everything.
Unless you play him as the number 10 role.
No, that'd be a matter all day. But no, if you look at that midfield, it's got Herrera, it's got the creative class, good on the ball, good vision. It's got Carrick, that calming presence, just passing it about, spraying it. And then you've got Schneiderlin, just the midfield dynamo.
I'd love that as a
all over
midfield
the
three.
pitch. Oh,
Midfield three, super.
That's title challenging in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, good midfield.
Yeah.
Way forward. So, Andy, it links nicely to your last question.
Go on.
So, of the players we're linked with, is there one player you wouldn't want United to go out and buy?
There is. And this isn't going to be popular with United fans, but bear with me. Paul Pogba. Now, somebody explained to me why he'd splash out coming up on half your summer budget on a player who last May talked about United disrespected him. Now, I know recently there's been quotes coming out saying he still loves United. I think that shows his mentality. You never know where you're up to with him. Would you get 100% passion for the shirt? I don't think so. Would he be a mercenary in a couple of years? Possibly. And in a very good Juve team, 16 points better than anyone else, with Pirlo and Vidal, even we'd look good in that.
Yeah,
Fair
I've got to agree. I think
You
I
had a
saw
big-
a 70 million price tag.
Yeah, but you had a big pool to pick out of there with linked players.
Oh,
It was-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were endless ones to go through. And Pogba's not even the sort of biggest link to us, because obviously he's been mentioned about Real Madrid, PSG, City.
I'd again, I say it every week, I'd question all the United fans that are saying we should re-sign him for 60, 70 million. How many of them can put their hand on their heart and say, I've watched him every single week in Serie A? I haven't watched him. I remember us two being at a game in the past where he came on and he had those gold Predators on and we were like, oh, here's Poggy.
Yeah.
But apart from that, obviously I watched him in the Champions League. I've not really seen a lot of the man. So
I've not been that impressed from what I have seen of him. I mean, I've not seen much more of him than you have, Nick, but I just think it all comes down to these compilation videos on YouTube
you
again.
can make Cleverly look good on
Yeah,
there.
exactly. I think far too many people are judging players who are going to sign based on what they do on a 2-minute video on YouTube.
It's like the same as Depay, though, in that sense. You've got
Yeah,
these people
yeah,
praising
I
Depay.
watch
It's
him.
2 minutes.
You
Who's
can't-
watched Depay?
You can't praise him. We've seen bits and bobs of him at the World Cup, and there might be the odd person who watches Dutch football week in, week out. I'm certainly not one of them.
But the vast majority do not.
No.
And I'm one of them as well. I watch the Premier League. I'll now and again watch a little bit of La Liga.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I can't say I've watched Paul Pogba week in,
No.
week out in the Serie A.
Just to look at Pogba, though, he was already at his age, 18, was trying to be bigger than the club.
I think it was
And
30
you can't
grand
have
a
a
week
player
at
like
the
that.
age of 18 and he'd not made a single appearance and United offered him 10, which is a lot more high than they were prepared to offer him anyway, and he turned it down.
I mean, it was quite comical when I used to go watch him on a Champions League game when he started playing. It used to be like just a kind of a jovial chant, just to shout Pogba.
Yeah.
So I mean, he is a good player. You can't argue with it.
Oh no, he's a great young talent, and he's got a lot more to bring to the game, and he could well work. But I go back to the point I made at the end of the 30 seconds. When you've got Pirlo and Vidal sat round you, and you're aiming the ball
Make
up
us look
towards
good.
Tevez, yeah, any one of the three of us could sit in that midfield, and they'd probably bid 15 million for us.
Simple
I
question
can't even run.
for you, Andy. During the game with Real Madrid, who was the standout player for you? We both watched the game because it wasn't Paul Pogba, it was Tevez for me, personally.
Yeah.
Especially in Turin.
Well, Morata as well.
Oh, yep, granted he got the goal, yeah. But in terms of
Stood up in the big moments in both games.
that first leg,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
in the
Tevez
first leg
up front on his
especially,
own,
yeah.
I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, fair comment, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Joe, we're going to fire one at you. It's we're actually going to go with one of the questions that you've actually asked us and spring it back on you, just to get your point of view, really. Joe, you've got 30 seconds. Tell me, the question you asked Nick was if you could sign one more player this summer, excluding Depay, who obviously is on his way, and being realistic. We've gone Schneiderlin. Which one player do you think you'd go for?
That's probably the toughest question you could ask me at the moment.
So many to choose from.
I'd have to say that we've got a defender missing, and I'm a massive fan of Hummels, and that's who I'm going to go with. If you look at the commanding role he takes, we just need a leader in the back. There's nothing there at the moment that suggests that somebody could lead our back four. We need someone to hold it, someone to command it, and I just think Hummels would be the best option for it. So, Hummels.
Yeah, well, like we've talked upon this, but, in the past we've said Smalling has shown flashes of it. He's been brilliant, but I think we are crying out for a leader still. I think there's no shame to admit that. And Hummels would bring that. The only thing that my concern with Hummels is that lack of pace. And I know he does read the game well, but that will eventually catch him out.
It will do
as he
against
ages,
certain
it will.
players.
Exactly.
But you look at Mertesacker, still a top-class defender.
Yeah.
Alongside the right person in Koscielny.
I think I'm faster than Merck.
Yeah, I think I am over the first yard. But I think alongside Chris Smalling, there's no reason that partnership couldn't work. The only thing is, those rumours have gone very quiet all of a sudden, haven't they? And suddenly it's Otamendi is the big name being blasted around again.
Apparently that's just a bit of a bit of fog. Apparently it still is Hummels, but personally, we talked about this last week. I'd prefer Otamendi.
I quite like how it's gone quiet. Usually when things go
yeah,
quiet,
that is actually a good
does,
sign.
Yeah, could be a bonus. Let's hope so.
At least his girlfriend's not tweeted he's coming to Manchester, so that's
that's a plus. Yeah, we'll be coming on to him as well shortly.
I'll leave you to that one.
Absolutely. Now, next up, we talk to Dodgy Dave. We're going to ask him about his end of season review in only the one way that he knows. So then, here we are, end of season show, and we have Dodgy Dave with us. He's going to be with us throughout the summer, unless we sell him as well. But he's on the line right now, and we're going to have a chat to him about his end of season review. Dave, hello.
Good evening, boys.
Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Now, we've been discussing our own end of season review. We wanted to get a bit of action from yourself and reaction. But firstly, commiserations on Hull going down.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, I was supporting them, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were, yeah.
Yeah.
Is the Yelovich shirt in the bin?
Oh, I never actually bought it. I've returned it the next day, to be honest.
Oh, dear.
Swapped it for a Newcastle shirt. So
Who did you get on the Newcastle shirt?
Jonas, and he got a goal for me as well.
Yeah,
so.
good call.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Dave, let's start by firing through a couple of things with you in terms of your end of season thoughts. Should be interesting. Firstly, tell us, out of the Premier League teams, who would be your team of the season? Your favourite team?
Team of the season?
Out of the 20 teams, which one would you pick out as your favourite team? Based on this season only.
Only this season?
Yeah.
To be honest, I'd stick with Arsenal.
Would you?
Being very loyal.
Yeah.
You've been surprisingly loyal to Arsenal.
Surprisingly loyal, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't think of another team.
Originality the key.
Yeah, no, I'd stick with them. They play entertaining stuff, don't they?
They play the sort of football you enjoy, I know. The ludicrous style of football.
Holding the LT and the right stick down on FIFA. It's that type of football that they play.
Okay, Dave. What about a player of the year instead?
Player of the year?
Any player in the league?
Any player in the league. I know you probably root for Lee Cattermole, but I'm going to go for a different midfielder and say Francis Coquelin.
You just uncovered Nick's crush on Lee Cattermole there to the listeners.
If he was Spanish, he'd be in that Barcelona team. I'm adamant.
Sorry, was I not supposed to say that?
It was a hidden secret.
Unknown fascination with my Lee Cattermole crush.
No, it's good. It's good to get these things out in the open. You've gone in the midst of that with, did I hear Francis Coquelin?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
See, the Arsenal bias is phenomenal, Dave.
To be fair,
it's the end of the season, isn't it? They're not going to lose for a few
To be
weeks.
fair,
Isn't it? So.
he came mid-season from Charlton.
Yeah.
To perform at that level.
To be fair, he was brilliant.
It is quite a good effort.
So it's a left field.
Him coming in changed the whole formation of the team.
It did. It's a left field way of looking at it, but we'd only expect that from you, Dave.
broke the curse, the top four curse.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, of course. Finishing third, one place up.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Dave, goalkeeper of the year. Who's been your favourite keeper this year?
Goalkeeper of the year. In terms of just pure.
And don't say
Mignolet.
Just in terms of, you've got a very different way of looking at people. Who was your favourite goalkeeper?
Favourite goalkeeper? Who was that Sunderland keeper?
Which one?
Wasn't there a Sunderland keeper that had an absolute mare at some point? Was it Manone? Ex-Arsenal.
Vito Manoni, yeah. You're going ex-Arsenal now?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the one that was in goal, I think, for the 8-0 game against Southampton, if I remember rightly.
Oh, yeah, an absolute shocker.
Yeah, you're going for him as goalkeeper of the year on that basis, yeah?
Yeah.
This is some team we're sorting out.
This is phenomenal, yeah.
Okay, Dave.
One awful performance, yeah.
Your villain of the year.
Villain of the year.
Worst player, in your opinion, of the Premier League
Worst
season.
player, I would say Angel Di Maria.
Had to be United.
Yeah, of course it did. Well, I had, what's the squad? 20? I had 20 United
I
players.
really wanted you to say Jack Wilshere.
Why would I pick Jack Wilshere? He's been injured all season. Who's he been offending on the sub-bench?
Why are you going Di Maria, Dave?
I'm going Di Maria because he was just such a massive waste of money, wasn't he? He's useless. He can't pass the ball. I can pass better than he can.
Yeah, that's saying a
We'll
lot.
sign you for 60 million, Dave.
Yeah, well,
Hey?
we'll
We'll
get
sign
the
you for 60 million.
checks on the way.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
I like that.
Yeah,
I did make the third team recently, so that's probably the next step.
Yeah, Dave does play a bit of Sunday League and has recently been promoted to the third team.
Yeah,
He's on his way to the top, ladies and gents.
big time. This is just a stepping stone in my career.
Of course it is. It's just the royalties that are going to push you forward.
Of course, yeah.
Manager of the year, Dave. Who's been your favourite manager of the season and why?
Manager of the season, I'm going to say No, I'm not going to say Arsene Wenger. I'm going to say Nigel Pearson.
I suspected
Yeah,
this.
I would have gone with that.
Nigel Pearson.
At one point, they were dead and buried.
Yeah, he's turned them around. He's absolute comedy gold.
Yeah,
If
he
one
is.
manager in the whole season, if you can do that, break those sort of records from the bottom of the table, and all people remember you for is talking about ostriches, then you've had a fantastic
quite a
year,
talent,
as far as
yeah.
I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, in the midst of saving your team with possibly the greatest turnaround we've seen in the modern era, to be recalled back to a conversation about an ostrich, it's a good point. It's well worthy of winning manager of the year for that alone.
I mean, it's just David Attenborough all over, isn't it? Really. So.
And finally, Dave, just to conclude, your story of the week.
Story of the week. I racked my brains, but to be honest, I'd say I had a great day up on Monday. Bank holiday Monday up at Buxton Raceway. Great fun. The ultimate, the finale was a Jippo caravan race, which was pretty good fun. Just a destruction derby, load of pikeys just smashing into each other. So yeah, one hashtag cheeky Nando's on the side, which was pretty out there.
Cheers, Dave. That was our final Dodgy Dave of the season. He will be with us over the summer, having a general chat. But we're going to wrap up this show and the season with transfer talk. It's probably all we're going to be talking about over the summertime. We're going to leave out Dave this week, you'll be glad to hear. We're going to start with the three Germans. That's Schweinsteiger, Gundogan and Muller. Nick, let's start by having a chat about the three Germans.
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously, there's been a lot in the news recently about Gundogan. I think his girlfriend or partner uploaded a picture in one of the airports in Dusseldorf with a flight to Manchester. So, that's very interesting from our point of view. But he could end up at City, knowing United's luck. And obviously, Schweinsteiger and Muller, both unbelievable players. Have you got any negatives about those three at all?
Not really. I mean, I don't think you could go wrong with any of the three of them, to be honest with you. Initially,
I think they've all got weaknesses we can highlight. Schweinsteiger is age, 31 in August.
Yeah.
Gundogan or Gundogan is his back injury. And then we got Muller, pace.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason I'm saying not really is because they're all really good quality players. At the end of
Technically,
it.
they're all
Exactly.
unbelievable. Yeah.
And to start with, I wasn't sure about Muller. The reason being, I didn't see where he fitted into the squad. The more I think about it, the more we talk about Rooney, and he's on a downward spiral. Muller could play that position
Muller would be our
really
striker,
well.
yeah. And you'd like to think with the pace of Depay and Di Maria around him,
ideal.
his
that
lack
would
of
make
pace
up
won't
for
be-
it.
Yeah, it'd be similar to Van Persie of a few years ago.
Yeah.
Never had the pace.
Didn't need it.
25, 30 goals in a season.
Yeah, and Muller's always been firing in the goals as well. Always
Yeah.
hits the mid-20s in the Bundesliga, which is a very good league, very competitive league as
Out
well.
of those three, though, which one do you think's most important? Who would you rather have?
I'm actually tempted to say Muller, The reason being, I think Schneiderlin is fine over Gundogan. Same again with Schweinsteiger, again because of the age. I think
Yeah.
Muller and this is shocking for me because I thought out of the three originally he'd be the least likely to sign and the one I wanted the least.
I disagree with you. I'd have
Go
to
on.
say. My personal preference would be Gundogan.
Reason being?
I just think we need that youth in the midfield. He's vastly experienced for his age.
If we signed Schneiderlin, though, would you need him as well?
Yeah, I'd look at both of them. Yeah,
Okay.
Carrick's not going to go forever. Schneiderlin replaced Carrick in the holding position. Gundogan, Schneiderlin, and Herrera in midfield.
Okay, that's great. That's the three Germans discussed. Let's fire on to the strikers. We mentioned these earlier on. I mentioned Lacazette being a good option in terms of striker. You want to go on to talk to me about a surprise package?
I don't think it's going to be very attractive to a lot of United fans, but if we could sign any striker this summer, take into account one that we can actually buy available, so I'm not going to say Ronaldo or Messi or Lewandowski, who we always go on about. I'd go with Higuain personally.
Okay.
I think he'd be available for around 30 to 35 million.
Possibly a little bit more.
Possibly, yeah.
We know Napoli bought him for 40 million euros, right?
Yeah, about 30 million quid.
Okay.
So maybe 35 million to maybe a push more. But maybe we could offer Hernandez, Hernandez plus 30 million.
That's part of the deal.
Yeah, would be tempted. He's 27. He's very prolific, and I think a lot of the reason we've not been linked with him is because he's not at Real Madrid anymore. If he was still at Real Madrid and we were offered him plus, for Dave in a swaps type deal, I would be more than happy. He got 107 goals in 190 appearances in the league for Real. He's prolific wherever he goes, 1 in 2. He's rarely injured. He's made over 40 appearances in the last 4 seasons, and he's Argentinian. So if we did sign Otamendi, Rocco, Di Maria, there's a foursome there of great players who could all settle in very quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you say, 1 in 2 is very good. He's a technically very gifted player as well. And it's an interesting shout, sort of out of nowhere, really. But I agree, he could be potentially very good prospect.
Nearly 50 caps for Argentina.
Yeah.
And you think about his competition, the likes of Messi, Aguero, Palacio, Tevez,
very
Icardi.
good. Yeah.
So to get that many, it shows some respect in his ability.
Great strike rate and great experience as well.
You've got someone different?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lacazette still, regardless of that, because for me, at 27, where's the sell-on value?
It depends, really. If he has a disastrously bad season, and he'll be on 28, I reckon you could get possibly 25, 30 mil still.
How often do you sell a player after the first season?
Exactly. This is the thing.
That could be the only issue.
Obviously, that's one of the negatives with Higuain, but Lacazette, 22, 23 years old, 2-3 years in selling value.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, Lacazette, as I sort of alluded to earlier, he's quick, he's young, he's hungry for the game. I think that's a perfect combination for me for the Premier League and for United.
Physicality? He's 5'8".
Yeah, I mean, I know he's not massive, but you're saying we want to get rid of the long ball for Fellaini. Do you want a target man?
It's not that. We're going to have Depay on the wing. He's going to want to cross a lot of balls in. We're still going to have Young, who does a lot of crosses.
Drill in the crosses instead.
And I just think Higuain is 6 foot. He's very good in the air anyway. He scores a lot of goals with his head. I can't really see Lacazette doing that.
No, he won't. But you said about him last week when we gave him a brief mention about it being more like Luis Saha in terms of the way he's built.
Yep.
He's improved steadily as well over the last couple of seasons. He's hit 27 in the league in obviously the French league this season. Rumoured fee around sort of 25 to 30 million, so I think he'd come in cheaper than Higuain as well.
He does lack experience, though.
He does, and he's only been doing it for a season, arguably 2. He started to add goals to his game. Look, the cons, as you say, he is only 5'8", so physicality could be an issue against the likes of the bigger defenders, John Terry, Cahill, company, etc. It's a large risk as well for the fee. He is unproven, but he's young.
Yeah, like unproven. Higuain, he's played in El Clasicos, he's scored against Barcelona, he's played in World Cups, so he's very experienced and still quite young at 27. So we'd get 5 years out of him if it was successful.
Yeah, true enough. Now we're going to discuss transfers plenty more over the summer. We've covered everything that we want for the time being. Nick's going Higuain as our striker. I'm going Lacazette. We're going to end the show in just a moment by talking our 1 to 11s for next season. So Nick, let's end the show by talking about projected 1 to 11s for next season. We've talked an awful lot about potential ins and outs for next season. If everything goes to plan, day 1 of next season, no injuries around, you've got the transfer targets you wanted, and also best case scenarios as well in terms of players leaving.
Okay, yep.
Who would be your starting 11? Give me a run through.
Well, first game of the season, hopefully at Old Trafford. I'd like to see, first and foremost, Dave in net. Can't see it happening, but I would go De Gea in net. Interest has cooled recently, but Nathaniel Klein at right back. I would personally like a centre-back partnership of Smalling and Otamendi. I would have Rocco at left back. Obviously, he's not the most concrete there, but I don't think Shaw's ready. I still find him very raw. He has the odd game where he's brilliant. I'd have a midfield, we've already discussed this, of Carrick, Schneiderlin and Herrera. And I would have Mata on the right wing, Depay on the left wing, and I'd have Higuain up front.
Okay, good team. And as you say, hopefully if De Gea stays, that would be the best case scenario, I think, if his head's in the game anyway, to keep hold of him. So, yeah, I think that's a good looking side. Otamendi and Smalling.
That's the partnership I wanted,
Too similar, or...
Yeah, you could say that, but you'd have to see it first, see how it planned out. Rocco at left back would be the one that I'd alternate with Shaw. I'm just putting him in there just because I'd like to see how he played with Otamendi next to him. Very similar to Argentina, so it'd be quite interesting to see. What are yours, 11?
My 11's actually very similar to yours. I agree with you on 9 of the plays you put in there, so I'll go with the 2 I've disagreed on.
Better than nothing, yeah.
Yeah, not bad. The 2 that I disagree with you on, that I would change personally, one that we've just discussed during the transfer talk section of the show, Lacazette over Higuain.
Up front, yeah.
He's still going to be, regardless of what we've just discussed there, I want to see pace. I want to see United flying forward next season.
It's a shame because there doesn't seem to be a world-class striker available. Like
Lacazette
and Higuain are out of the box. People wouldn't have thought of them. I didn't think of Higuain straight away, and then I was reading about him recently. Arsenal apparently looking at him, 40 million, 35 million price tag. Lacazette's popped up this season, but usually there's a striker out there that's been going 5-6 years, is in his peak of his powers, is consistent in his goal scoring, but at the moment there's none that are available in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. So that would be one area where I differ. The other one would be the left-back situation. You don't think Shaw's ready. I think if Shaw comes back from a good pre-season and is fit, for me, he's our best left-back. When you see him flying forward, he had a really good game at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. Yeah. One of the few he's had. But for me, he's without doubt our best left-back.
Just those comments that Roy Hodgson made about him not being medically or physically ready. It's quite a strange phrase. So it made me worry a little bit. That's the only reason I've gone with Rocco.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking best case scenario here. If he comes back from a good, summer rest, because obviously he's not going with the under-21s to the World Cup. So I think if he gets a good rest behind him, a decent pre-season, for me, all day he's our best left back and a great prospect as well.
Well, our predictions are going to look totally different to what actually happens at the start of the next season.
Yeah, I'll be interested to compare what we've gone at.
We'll have to come back
with
to this.
We'll keep a note on this, and please do let us know on Twitter at WeFollowUnited is our handle. Let us know your thoughts on your team. What 11 do you want to see on the first day of next season? Also, let us know if there's anything you agree or disagree on in terms of your thoughts on anything we've discussed in today's show as well. We really appreciate you listening to us. Fairly new to the market, and now obviously going into a summer of transfer talk. It'll be our first full season with you next season, and we're really looking forward to it with obviously regular features, great guests and great views as well. Please give the video a like, do subscribe for content regularly over the summer period. Next week, we're going to get you, the fans, involved in terms of a phone-in. We want you to give us a call, let us know your thoughts on United's season so we can get your input. Joe's going to be helping me to co-host as Nick suns it up in Tenerife. We might try and get him on in between a beer or two.
Depends what time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But as I say, thanks ever so much for listening. Please do give us a follow. We're at We Follow United. This has been episode 3 of The Chronicles by us, Red Devil Chronicle. Enjoy your summer.